Welcome back into another episode of George in the Jungle, coming live at you from the Cincy Light Studios. This show, as always, is brought to you by Remington Tavern. They can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can find them on Instagram at RemyTav Cincy. That's REMITAV Cincy with a Y, or follow them on Facebook. And with that, George, it is Thanksgiving week. So happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, sir.
Yes, hopefully you had a great week as well with the family, and it's outside of that, there's not a whole lot to jump up and down about, is there?
I mean, you can say that you are thankful for the Bearcats basketball team. You could say you were thankful that the Bengals were on a bye, so they couldn't lose.
Okay, that's two good pluses right there.
I think that's where I'm at.
Yep, that's where I'm at too. That's as good as I can make it.
The Reds made a trade.
Yeah.
So, but we will start. Let's start with the high note, George. And this goes a little bit further back than Saturday anyway. The Cincinnati Bearcats beat Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech 81-58. They are officially the number 16 team after the new polls came out on Monday. And they bumped up today all the way up to number 6 now in the KenPom rankings.
Well, so far so good, and everyone we expected to be pretty good has been pretty good, and then some. You hope for the health of some of these guys, and want to see Dan back on the floor. Hopefully before that crosstown shootout comes around. They got a few more outings before that, so hopefully he gets his game back into shape for that. And the Bearcats just keep on keeping on, because they keep giving you reasons for optimism on every one of these games. You'll see, even though guys like Dylan Mitchell have played very well, it seems like every game, but every game there also seems to be some other players that step up and do things that make you think they're going to be help all the way through March. And that includes Connor Hickman, who I thought played really, really well in the Georgia Tech game, just from all facets of the game. And it just seems like he's starting to fill that role that we thought he was going to be able to fill when UC brought him over. And I right now see him as nothing but a plus for this team.
Yeah, they did say today that Dan has had a couple days of shooting now, yesterday and today. He's been running on a treadmill, and he is progressing. So that's good news there. In this game, though, I think
rushing back for the shootout. You don't do that. He's got to be
no.
Right. He's got to be more than ready. You don't do that. But it's good to hear he is progressing, and you would certainly love to see him in that lineup for that game.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think this was the Connor Hickman game, as he was tied for the lead with 3 players scoring 14, Connor included. He was 6 of 8 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He was all over the place. We knew the shooting was going to come around, right?
Right.
Good right. Shooters don't stay cold, and that's something that translates. Shooting is always going to translate, no matter what level that you're on.
Yeah, and those other skills he has too translate, and he's going to be in the right spot, and he's going to try to make the right play at the right time, the right pass, and be in the right position on offense, and all those kinds of things. And I thought we saw that a lot in that game against Georgia Tech. But then you could say that about a lot of their players. I thought they played a pretty darn good overall game. It's good to see the freshman Tyler Betsy still isn't afraid to throw it up from out there. If he's open, and he's going to take it.
Yeah. I thought Betsy played 6 points. Doesn't show everything that he did on the floor that
No,
day. 17 minutes played. He's improving on both sides, not just offensively, but also defensively. And Coach mentioned that today in his presser. But Tyler's been nothing short of fun to watch, as most of these guys have. Dylan Mitchell dunking still all over the place. I believe
yeah,
this team. I think somebody said that this team leads the nation in dunks at this point in time.
isn't that wild? That is so crazy. But it does feel like it though. It feels like they got a dunk on every second or third possession.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Just I don't know that there's anybody on this roster outside of maybe CMOS that if they have an open floor isn't going to dunk.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to think down the list now. We know Hickman's going to try it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think who doesn't. Um, no,
maybe I don't know if we haven't seen Josh Reed dunk. I don't think.
no, that's true.
I think
That's true.
he's
And
generally
we
hanging out around the. That's not to say he can't dunk. He's
right,
just generally hanging out around the arc. So
right, exactly.
um, yeah,
But
you,
got a
you
bunch of
you
rim attackers, which is good.
you saw some more play of Day Day and Jizzle together on the floor than you have since last season. With this being Day Day's second game back, they really saw some extended time together on the floor. You saw some smaller lineups with Dylan Mitchell at the 5 because Arnton Page was in foul trouble. Poor guy fouled out in front of his home crowd.
I know.
5 fouls in 7 minutes. He had a rough go of it. But, I mean, you still see a team blow out Georgia Tech on the road in a game that they were favored. I think it only ended up being 9.5 by the time tip off happened. Was the spread on this one, but just dominated.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of being able to see even Jizzle and Day Day play together. There's going to be times they have to do that, and they're going to need that,
Sure.
depending on foul situations, other situations, injuries, whatever. Um, they're going to need to play a bunch of different ways as this season unfolds, and it's good to see they can do that. Last year, I wasn't so sure they could. In fact, they didn't really try a whole lot of it till later in the season, and now it's almost like it's a natural thing, and that's what they need um, to be as good as I think they can be, and probably as good as they know they can be, because this looks like the makings of a very, very good basketball team. And the more versatility you have like that, and the more guys can play together in different combinations like that, you're going to be a heck of a lot better off coming down the stretch of the season. And and it goes beyond seeing those conference teams. It goes to when you're starting to see these teams, in the tournament that you haven't played before, you haven't seen, you haven't prepared for, and you may have to do different things. And it's just kind of nice to see them using this non-conference portion of the schedule to get all that ironed out, because that's what all the good teams always used to do.
Funny you say that. That was another thing that Coach mentioned today was that essentially you can take pretty much every scenario that you run into in non-conference play and apply it to league play. And I think they're trying to work through all of that. I mean, you've already played through injuries to a couple key guys between Day and Dan. You're working through different lineups. You're working through 7 guys in as you with Arnton Page fouling out. You're already fairly thin at the 5 spot. Because I don't know that Halvin Zella is quite up to where they want him to be for
Probably.
a backup 5. So yeah, you're running just some different looks than maybe you anticipate at tip off, and kind of getting to work through that.
But poor Page, man, I guess it does kind of surprise me that he racks up the fouls like that. And I'll tell you why. It seems like he moves pretty well for his size. I don't see him as a guy that, if he's playing up against another big man, is being pressed that much moving and getting in the right position. And I think he'll get it. I think that's going to come a little bit over time. I'm just a little surprised that he does have foul trouble. Like this is like the second or third time we've seen that in these games where he gets in there and racks them up in a hurry. And eventually that is going to come back and bite you a little bit if he doesn't get that under control. I think he can. I think he has the tools to do it. I just think he's got to get a little more used to the way they're calling this thing at the collegiate level now, as opposed to what he's been doing up to this time, because he didn't get all that much time last year.
Well, one of the things they talked about, or that Chad and I talked about after the game, was Chad had brought up, did Arrington essentially, did they see something on film that is he maybe going to run into this? And
right.
They kind of attacked him anytime he was in the game. I mean, to collect 5 fouls in 7 minutes, you're going at him about every opportunity that you can.
Right. I mean, I've seen kids do that in high school, but I don't know if I've seen anyone do it since high school. So that's a lot of fouls in a short amount of time. But yeah, they exploited something on him, and I guarantee you that UC staff has probably already got that locked down and know what's going on, and hopefully we'll be able to work with him through that, because if you are the other team, why wouldn't you do that? You'd be stupid not to.
Sure. I certainly don't blame them, and I don't think Damon Stoudemire is a uninformed coach. I think he's going to break film down with the best of them, and I don't think you should be surprised that a Georgia Tech team went ahead and attacked Arrington Page in that manner. So I don't know. Again, one of those things that you get to work through and you get to figure out in the non-con, and this is where you want to do it, because the Big 12 slate is no joke.
Right. No, they got to get it all ironed out now, get ready to go when that Big 12 play opens. And, if what we've seen so far is what we're going to see in January and February, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of good basketball.
Now, you do have Alabama State coming to Fifth Third Arena.
Nippert, next door.
Fifth Third Arena on tomorrow night, and tip-off there is, I believe, 7 o'clock. That'll be on ESPN Plus. What are you wanting to see that you don't feel like you've seen yet, or maybe that you're going to be keeping an eye out for in this game?
I would love to see our guy play some minutes without getting foul trouble. That's for darn sure.
Agreed.
I want to see that. I would like to see, and this isn't a knock. It's just I want to see a little more out of Tyler Betsy offensively inside the 3-point line, as opposed to out, because I think it's there. I really, really, really think it's there. And whereas it may take a year or two for us to see it all, I think that's something he should work towards, because I think he can be effective there.
Did you watch Coach's presser today?
No. Did he say that?
He definitely also talked about Tyler Betsy and how they are working on trying to get him more aggressive offensively.
I saw the football news conferences, but I missed basketball.
Yep. He said he wanted to see Tyler Betsy. That's one of the things they're working on with Tyler is getting him more aggressive offensively. So I would agree.
Yeah, I think he always going to do is help himself. It's going to open up more things to him. And my God, you've seen him. I've seen it. The kid moves well. He's got it in there.
With Connor having a game now where he was arguably the best player in that game, I'd like to see him string a couple of these games together where he's able to get the shooting where he wants it to be. And I know Chad's talked about it. I agree. I think he is better playing off the ball, and you saw that catch and shoot out of him.
Right.
I think that's where you need to see him thrive, and he's able to do that a little bit more now that he's not coming in as a backup to Jizzle, but coming in as the 2 and kind of letting Jizzle and Day run the show.
And we're also seeing him, kind of fit in and get used to what's going on around him with these new players, because he is new. And I know he had the summer to work with them and stuff, but when you get on the floor, teams are throwing different stuff at you and things are a little different. He needs that experience. He needs that floor time with them to get comfortable and do those types of things that he's good at doing. So all of that helps too. And I expect it for him to be a nice asset for this team going forward, as we all expected with him coming in. But I think he's looking like, that true facilitator, basketball player, does everything well, just a solid player. And that's what I expected out of him coming in. And that's kind of what I saw against Georgia Tech. And I guess I'm seeing more and more of that the more he gets to play.
Another thing I want to see is this team really start to take over on rebounding. One of the things that we thought that this team was going to be upper echelon.
Yes.
And I know that Dan's out, but you still have to be able to figure out how to dominate the glass. And I think that will translate into dominating an Alabama State team, as they should. And that will lead to extended minutes for guys like Josh Reed, like Tyler Betsy, like Rayvon Griffith, like Aronson Page, that need the development. And what a Thanksgiving treat that would be, George.
Yes. And that's a big one for me too, is I don't understand. They've got the size. They definitely have the hops. How in the hell are they not winning some of these battle of the boards against some of these teams? So that's something where I think we need to see definite improvement there before they get into conference play.
Just to address the comment here, Casey says, standing by my comment from last night that Dayton is going to be much tougher than Villanova. How are you feeling about that, George?
Casey may have a good point there. I'm not going to discount the Flyers up the road, especially after what happened last year. And I know they're a different team, but I don't know. What's Villanova done? The last I checked, they were just kind of like, okay.
You never know what Villanova team is going to show up. It seems that they're trending up, but they did not start the season on a great note. So I guess we'll see. Look, both programs have been nothing short of good to great over the course of the last several seasons. So
right.
Until you are starting to dominate the teams that are good, like a Georgia Tech, that's what we want to see out of this Bearcat team, and we'll see.
But it's also nice to see that they're going to play both of these teams and Xavier, and they have Georgia Tech under the belt. Yep. So it's nice to get those in the non-conference and be ready to roll instead of playing a bunch of Alabama States. No offense to them. Who knows? Maybe they win tomorrow night. I doubt it. But, you've got to play some teams that have a little bit of toughness to them.
Well, let's speak about the teams that have a little bit of toughness to them, as the Bearcats football team went to Manhattan, and they certainly played a team that had some toughness to them, as Kansas State was playing on their senior day, and they throttled the Bearcats 41-15. We did see a little bit more in the passing game out of the Bearcats, but it seemed that all of the offense that we saw out of the Bearcats was all too little too late, as you let a team score 4 straight possessions on their first 4 possessions, and you let them score right before halftime on an unbelievable pick six. Just another halftime score right before halftime. I think that's the 5th or 6th time now this season. Unbelievable.
It's unreal. I am lying there watching this at the end of the first half, and it's like, okay, nothing can go sideways this time, right? Just run the play, punt the ball if you have to, whatever. Just get out of there with seconds remaining on the clock. Nothing bad happens at this half. And then comes the pick, and then the touchdown, and then, God, I forget what the halftime score was at that point, but it was damn near over.
27-3.
Yeah. So it was over. That was just an awful display of football, really, on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. They tried to get the passing game going a little bit and get some other guys involved that they hadn't had involved in a while, but that only worked out for just a little bit. It looks to me like I hate to say this because kind of ran the ball very well and all that.
Yep.
But it just seems like every other aspect of that offense has regressed. It just looks like it's regressed and has gotten worse and worse and worse. And the turnovers are worse. And I don't think their third down percentage could not have been good. I know their fourth down was like 0 for 5 or something ridiculous.
Third down, they were 3 of 12. Fourth down, they were 0 for 5. So altogether, 3 of 17 between those two downs.
Yeah, you're not going to beat anybody doing that, especially when you're putting yourself in those positions where, a lot of those third downs aren't really makeable anyway. I don't know, man. They got a problem there. They got a problem, and it is showing up in neon lights right now. And, they're running into a team this week that's liable to throttle them at home if they're not careful. It's just tough getting your butt kicked like they're getting their butts kicked in these games, in these conference games, and, hold out hope that next year will be an improvement. Next year will be a step where, well, we were saying this stuff last year at this time that, hopefully they get themselves in position to where they can get to a bowl game. They still can, but is anyone really confident that they're going to go out there and make a statement and look really good Saturday night at home against TCU?
Well, TCU, their quarterback is number 6 in the nation. They have scored 34 plus in all but 2 games. You the last couple weeks, you're allowing teams to start in at their own 35 or better every drive on average,
right?
While starting less than your own 30 as Cincinnati goes. It's been all 3 facets of the game have been riding the struggle bus. There has not been.
Yeah, they have.
You've seen some sparks from the defense at times. No, they did not show up against Kansas State, but back at home in front of Nippert, you wonder what the crowd is going to be like with it being cold, somewhere in the 20s for most of the game. And you were 5-2. Now you're 5-6 coming home for this one.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what the crowd's going to be like.
Yeah,
I hope it's good because it is senior night.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if it's good. I hope it is. I'm sure most of the tickets were sold ahead of time, and
right.
Got the ticket, you may as well go. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to go yet because of this surgery. If it wasn't for that, I would go, and at least be there for 2 or 3 quarters, depending on what happens. But I want to be there and support them and all that. But there's got to be something to get you there and want to support, and hopefully they can get that 6th win and get bowl eligible and send some of those guys out with a win who may not be playing again. But it certainly doesn't look promising when you see what just happened the past couple of weeks to them, especially defensively. But really, the whole shebang played lousy. Offense, defense, special teams in those games. And then you got TCU coming in with a quarterback you talk about, and then you got 5 or 4 wide receivers that have 500 yards or more receiving this year. So that's crazy. That's hard to do, and they've done that. And that one kid they use all over the place, the giant, he's like 6'5". This kid's a weapon. He is a weapon, and it's going to be hard for UC to handle this guy. It's going to be hard for him to handle that whole Horned Frog offense. So I don't know. I don't hold out a lot of hope on this one, Aaron, but hopefully they make a game of it and people get their money's worth. But, oh boy, I just really really hope it doesn't end as ugly as what we saw the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was strange to see. This team has been really, really good with the script of the first drive, second drive, even, and this last one, they couldn't get anything going on
No,
those first two drives. Tried running it. I know coach mentioned this in his presser 4 or 5 times for -7 yards.
right.
Just terrible. You got Sorsby missing guys still. Throwing Xavier Henderson. If he's a tall dude, I get it, but I don't feel like he's had a pass that's hit him above his waist in several weeks.
Right.
Just missing Evan Pryor on another one that he just had to float to him, and again could have been 6. You
Right.
had another opportunity for Jonathan Thompson interception in the red zone. This one I don't know would have been a pick 6 necessarily, but you have all of these opportunities and you can't seem to capitalize on it. You wonder if something's still going on with Mason Fletcher because you only punted it twice and you averaged, I think, 37 yards a punt. That's not the Mason Fletcher we've grown accustomed to seeing.
No, it's not. And throwing in all that stuff you said offensively too, there was a play, I forget which wide receiver it was that was open, but it's a third down play. I think wasn't too long before the Evan Pryor miss. I mean, this guy's right there, and it's a first down if he catches it, and you skip the ball to him, and there's nobody between you and the receiver. Now you are on the run, but something's just not right. Something is not right. Quite honestly, I would have thrown one of the other. Well, they did late, but I would have given another quarterback another chance before everything was completely off the table. I would like to see another quarterback just get a chance to work, and I don't care if it's a freshman. I'll put him out if I feel like he knows the plays and can maybe get something going. I'll put him in there and let him see what he can do for a series or two. If nothing else, just change it up and try something else because this sure as hell isn't working offensively. Or it wasn't Saturday night.
You did see a little bit of Brady Lichtenberg. Of course, that was in pretty garbage time. So I don't know that was necessarily a fair indictment on what Brady can do for you.
I would have been thinking halftime. I got to make a change. That's what.
And I know you're talking about Samaj Jones as far as the freshman goes. I mean, if you were going to be running the ball against a team, and obviously the running situation outside of Corey Kiner in this one, I don't know that it was great by anybody. You had Evan Pryor 6 for 26 and Brendan Sorsby 6 for 19. But I don't know what's going on with this dude. I know Coach said that he thinks that it might be a little bit mechanics, but thinks it's more that they're pressing too much, trying to do too much, trying to do hero ball, wearing the cape. At the end of the day, Kansas State just in every facet was dominating Cincinnati,
right.
And I just wonder if I know the personnel on the entire team certainly improved this season. I just wonder if they're not quite there yet. If you have another step or two to go before you're on a level playing field with everybody else.
Certainly looks that way to me. Yes, I don't think they're there yet, and I don't know. Is it? I mean, is it fair or is it being too soft to think that this transition to the Big 12 was going to take 3-4 years before you're going to be playing competitive games on the road on a Saturday night? I mean, I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like they should be a little more ready than what I'm seeing on the field.
I think our expectations are that they should be a little bit more ready. Now, with that said, that they were making a transition into the Big 12, you were also making the transition from Luke Fickell to Coach Scott Satterfield. I know that you have you're 2 seasons in. He's turned over a majority of the roster to what you'd call his guys, but he hasn't had a chance to really get those guys into his system for some guys, for the entire defense, you're working into a new system. So you had another transition this season to a new defense. So I don't know. I'm not trying to make excuses, but at the same time, let's maybe try and taper those expectations, as there's been a shit ton of transition.
No, there has, but it's very, very, very frustrating. And I just,
as a fan, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we all expected a little bit more this year um, than what we've gotten. And I don't like seeing what was that final again the other night, 40, what, the 15 or what?
41-15, yeah.
That's just, yeah, those days, that's just not good. That's getting your ass whipped. And, you know, yeah, UC's gotten their ass whipped in the past a long time ago, a lot, all the time when they were everybody's homecoming game. But those days are supposed to be over. And certainly if you show enough that you're invited into the Big 12, you should be able to go in there and at least compete, especially in year two. Easier said than done. You know, I'm just sitting here spouting off what I think. But I also felt a lot better about this season coming in than what I've seen. Will I temper it next year? Probably not, because I'll see a whole bunch of new guys out of the portal that I think are going to fit right in and get it done. But, you know, I guess it is going to take a few years. I'm just not real patient about that. And then when you see some things, there are just other things you see that you're just like, really? You know, they're just different things like we talked about earlier in the season at the end of the half and the clock, things like that. I just feel like sometimes you can give your team a little better chance to compete than what these guys have done this year.
I agree. That all said, the Cincinnati Bengals did not play this week. They were on a bye week. One of the stories coming out of this week was Joe Burrow was seen in an off week. He was seen at the office, making sure that his car was seen there. I don't know if he was actually spotted, but his car was seen there. So all indications are that he was in the office trying to figure things out. I'm not surprised.
No, I'm not either. I mean, I'm sure it bugs him to no end where they are in terms of wins or losses this year, and how close they are to being completely out of that playoff hunt. I can't believe I just said playoffs, but yeah, he's going to do everything he can to make sure he's doing everything he can do to make it better, and everybody else is doing what they should be doing to make it better. Running the right routes, doing the right reads off those routes, all that business. So maybe he can help in this bye week to get things a little better back on track. Even though it's not like they're miles away. That's what's weird about this whole thing is, you know, they're playing good ball against good teams and coming up short. It's just, it's not like they're that far away, and it drives you nuts that they've dropped some of these games that they shouldn't have dropped. And now it's going to bite them. It's going to probably keep them out of the playoffs, losing games like that first one to New England, or just pick one out of the hat because there's a bunch of them. Seriously.
Well, if they're winning these games, Joe's having an MVP season. He's the leading candidate for MVP if they're winning these games. Instead, you're just wondering how the hell he's putting up the stats that he's putting up, Madden stats, and not winning games. Another story that came out in the last week or so, the Bengals versus the Browns Week 16 game was flexed out of Thursday night. It was flexed to Sunday out of Thursday, December 19, flex to Sunday, December 22 at 1 p.m. This has never been done before, where they flex a game out of a primetime game on one day into another day. You've got people who have requested off vacation time to travel. You've got people who have purchased plane tickets to travel, hotel stays. What do you make of any of this?
Well, the NFL's so big, they can do whatever the heck they want, and they do. And you know, they changed this whole flex policy just for what just happened.
Mhm.
They get a game like that that's probably by that point, and the Bengals may still have a shot, but it's pretty much a dog game that Amazon Prime TV has paid major dollars for Thursday night football for the NFL, and they want to make sure they have games that matter. Everybody does now. It started with NBC and Sunday night football, and now it seems like it's gone everywhere, where all these prime time games have to be games that have some sort of playoff implications or something that really matters. So the casual fan is tuning in as well, and that's just the world of the NFL, baby. They run it. They've been running these TV times forever. Thursday night football came around because of that. Monday night football came around because of that. Thursday being a bigger issue because that really shortens your week. When you're a team involved in that. But money, and they're soaking every bit of that money they can while they can. And who's to say to blame them? I hate it for the fans, but it's the NFL has said they will do this. So it is buyer beware when you're buying those late Sunday night or Thursday night tickets, that guess what? Your game may be moved. And this one did. Hey, at least they gave them a month's notice or thereabouts.
Yeah. It just simply is what it is. Obviously, us being local, we don't have to worry about things like that, really. You hate it for the people who are traveling. It's
right.
Crazy. We're guys that had taken vacation time off, and you hope that you're able to at least find something constructive in that time. But it's probably not going to be one of those things that goes away anytime soon. So I guess if you're going to travel, circle those 1 p.m. games.
Right. Yeah. And then some of those will get flexed out if your team, is surprising, and then you end up in a night game.
Good. Right.
Crazy. But you just kind of got to know that going in, that there's a good chance that that can happen on those prime time games, which it does suck. But if there's anyone that can get away with doing that, it is the National Football League, and they are doing it.
Some weird comments from Joe Mixon this weekend. He said, I appreciate, in speaking about he was asked specifically about the Bengals. He said, I appreciate my time there. I had a hell of a 7 years. When it came down to it, it was an unfortunate situation where things changed a little bit. And obviously they had them fake ass beat writers, reporters out there. I don't care. I'm not there anymore. When it comes down to it, my teammates know what it is. One thing I can appreciate here in Houston is they utilize my skill set. I've always been a threat in the passing game. And one thing about here, they give me my screens. They give me my choices. They give me flat routes that I can take. They give me all types of combinations. They utilize me. One of my criticisms against Zach Taylor is he has no idea how to use a running back. And this confirms it. And again, I'm doubling down on he can't be whatever they do. He cannot be the play caller next year.
I really hate to say anything because I've said for years I felt like Joe was misused here.
Yeah,
and you saw it. Anyone could see it. If I could see it, his skill set and his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, and you can run screens with him. You can just dump it out to him. You can send him out in a route. You can do anything with him. And I just felt like he was so underutilized in that part of the game. And then to watch him tear it up for Houston in that way, it's like, man, I hate to say I feel bad for him because of the way he was used here, but in a way I do, because imagine the number of yards he could have piled up being used in that way. But yeah, to your bigger point, it makes you wonder really, really long and really hard about that aspect. And I'm not sure that, what I'm seeing this season, if I'm running that franchise, I'm thinking long and hard about making a change. I feel like the talent is very, very underutilized here.
Well, if you don't make the playoffs, something big has to change. One of the little changes
around and just let years roll by where you've got a Joe Burrow and
no,
you've got you can't just let years. You got to make the most of them. And if you feel like, and I love Zach, and I love Zach as a person, but I also love winning, and I think there's enough talent there to win.
you have to.
And certainly there's games that they should have won this year that they lost, and they would still be in decent shape. You can't just fritter these years away. You're not going to have Joe Burrow forever, right? So you got to get someone in here that gets the maximum out of their players and not just the normal out of your players. You want the coach. I probably said it on here last week, but I'm telling you right now, and people don't like Mike Tomlin. If I give him this Bengals team this year, I guarantee you they're not just with a winning record. They are going to be playing for home field advantage.
I agree. They did make a small change today. When they redid the locker rooms, they got rid of the ping pong tables, and those were brought back today.
I saw that.
Do you make anything of that?
I'm thrilled the ping pong tables are back. Actually, those players seem like they have a lot of fun on those things, and it's not like they're not getting their work done, and it's not like they're in there playing ping pong instead of being in the linebackers meeting or so. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think it's good. I think it's good, and they seem to have a lot of fun with it. And by golly, who knows? Maybe they go on a run now. Maybe the ping pong table, maybe the ping turns into a pong this season, and they'll be back in the hunt.
Well, you got Pittsburgh at 8-3 coming into Cincinnati on Sunday at 1:00. Right now, Cincinnati is favored by 3. So if you're into losing money, who knows?
Yeah, well, I was into it last Sunday when I thought they are not going to lose this game to the Chargers. They are not. I was convinced. I don't care if it was on the road. I was convinced. And, you know, a few times a year I have that feeling about the Bengals, so I let it fly, and I got burned.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I don't feel good about it, but if they lose, they're pretty much out of it, I would think. I don't know that 9-8 is going to get you in.
I don't either.
But you could potentially improve to 5-7 and still remain in the hunt. If you can finish at 10-7, you're probably in. So
right,
you got to win out, and that's no easy task.
No, and especially what we've seen. I mean, I even when Joe said they needed to finish 7-2, and I agree. Yeah, you can finish 7-2. He said it was doable, and I agree with him. But based on the evidence we've seen this year, I guess it's not doable. I mean, I think the talent's there and everything, but there's just some missing ingredient. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but they are not proving they can win close football games. That's for darn sure. And you know, we talked about this last week. You throw McPherson in there too, and that's like now you're thinking, how close do they have to get to kick a field goal now? Before you didn't really have to worry about that, and now do you worry about that, or do you just send him back out there and you know he misses another one left, or I don't know. I don't know what you do, but there's a lot of question marks and not enough answers right now.
Evan McPherson said he unplugged the week off and just got his mind right. So we'll see. I don't know if it was
the hell of it is, and even with the new, you know, the new holder and all that, and everybody goes through that. But he was still hitting the hell out of the ball. It's not like these were ducks he was kicking up there.
We'll see what happens. You certainly need to be able to rely on your kicker,
Right.
especially if he's going to be the highest paid kicker in the league.
Right.
The other news that we have to touch on: the Reds made a trade.
The Reds.
They did get they traded away John India. They traded away former Bearcat Joey Weimer, and they get right-handed pitcher Brady Singer. who is known for being a ground ball pitcher. So you got a guy who makes sense in Great American Ballpark. He averages just over 92 mile an hour as a pitcher. So he's got some other stuff, if you will. 32 starts, 179 and 2/3 innings for Kansas City last year, was 9-13 with a 3.71 ERA and a 3.1 BWAR. Just sounds like he to Geoff's point here in the chat, he is an innings eater. I agree. But you lose a guy who was a leader in the clubhouse as a young guy, former rookie of the year, John India. One of the more tenured Reds on this roster at a whopping 4 seasons, I believe.
Yeah. And
but
a guy that you, let's face. He came through for him this past year. They were.
What would you have done? What would you have done without him? If with McLean going down and the rash of injuries and a PED suspension, I don't know what you would have done.
So. Yeah, no more Jonathan India. And I do like the pitcher they got, which is weird because did I read correctly? Those two were on the same Florida team when they played at University of Florida. I think they were.
Yes, they were. And in fact, Jonathan India actually, I saw a video where he consoled him after they gave up a run, or maybe it was extra innings or something. Something happened where he actually consoled him coming over from third base to console the pitcher there.
Yeah, that's good small world stuff there. But I'm okay with the trade. I hate to see India go, unlike a lot of people, but I just think he did a lot for this team. In the clubhouse, just played anywhere, did anything, seemed to hustle his butt off every time he was out there. But the Reds feel like they have this glut of infielders. I know they felt that way last year too, and then all of a sudden they didn't have any. But they're just going to try to maximize what they have, and hopefully this one works out for them. A lot of these, middle of the road pitcher things don't seem to work out too well for them, but hopefully this one does. It's certainly a guy that's shown he can win at this big league level. So hopefully he fits the ballpark.
Yeah, now you're looking at guys like Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, Nick Martinez, Brady Singer as probably your 5. And then you got guys who are going to be vying for those spots in Rhett Lauder, Carson Spires, Graham Ashcraft, if he's able to get his stuff back. Or maybe those guys are looking at potential bullpen roles. Who knows? All I know is this is the very first move that we've seen out of Tito in regards to the roster. And I don't expect it to stop anytime soon.
No, I don't either. He's gonna probably reshape some things in the way he wants to see them. How much they'll be able to do, we shall see. I guess payroll-wise, they say they're going to be on a similar path as last year. I hope that's true, because I was really worried about this whole MLB TV thing and that affecting the Reds' bottom line and what they would be able to spend on payroll. I was really worried about that. Can't remember where I saw it this week, but somewhere credible that they felt like their payroll was going to be at the same level. So at least they're not going to be looking for massive cuts and that kind of thing, and might be able to add some people. So it's going to be an interesting offseason to see what they do and what guys Tito does like and who they might move on from. But so many of them are so darn young.
Mm-hmm.
Hate to move on from too many of them because they've all got so much darn promise.
And I'm glad you brought up the MLB TV thing. That's something now that you can do. They have gotten rid of all of the blackouts for the Cincinnati Reds, and you can actually you can cut the cord completely and still get your Cincinnati Reds. If you subscribe to the MLB TV network, you can get it's $100 for just the Reds package, I believe, for the entire season. And if you want to pay the I think it's just $200 if you wanted to have the full package for any team.
Right.
So,
And then if I also understand correctly, and I may have this wrong, there will still be a channel on like a lot of the cable carriers that the Reds games will be on for free, right or wrong? Or do you pay for that? Do you know?
that I don't know at this point in time. I've only been
Yeah, I'm
reading up
not
on the MLB
sure.
TV stuff.
The way I understood it, there might be like games that were on sort of like whatever the BSO channel was. For me, it was like 527 or something. And there would be a channel dedicated to those Reds games. But I should have made a call today about that and gotten a little more info on where they stand with all that and pre and post game shows and how all that's going to shake out. But somebody better. Where are we? Yeah, we're still November, but somebody better get a handle on that real soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna be disappointed if I don't get my doses of Chris Welsh and Giesenschlaw and
Exactly.
all those guys. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Danny Sabo.
Yeah. They got some players down there.
Cure. Heck yeah, they got them all.
Well, George, I know that this one's a little short. We started a little late, but that's pretty much all I got. Do you have anything going on in high school?
Nah, we got some teams playing for state championships or semifinals. Step away from the championship game, but Moeller taking on Centerville. That game at Princeton, Cincinnati Princeton. Jake Sweeney Automotive Stadium. I still call it Mancuso Field after the great coach Pat Mancuso. So that's coming up Friday night, and then Anderson moved on as expected in Division II and will play at Dayton Welcome Stadium in a state semifinal there against Big Walnut. And then in Kentucky, we've got Taft is still alive too. Taft will be playing Indian Valley. Gannett-Hutton, Indian Valley, which at one time was in Indian Valley South, that would have been home of a basketball player by the name of Robert C. Huggins. Bob Huggins was a star at that school and was in Ohio. I don't know if they called it a Mr. Basketball back then or just Player of the Year in Division. I think they were Division III back then. So anyway, Taft's still alive, and then there's Kentucky. The big game over here would be in the state semifinals. Highlands at Cooper. A couple of locals involved.
Oh, there you go. And basketball's still not going yet, right?
Yeah, that's getting ready to go. Yeah, I'm going to have to start making it to some games if I can. Depends on the old back here. The back and the painkillers.
Well, George, you and your family enjoy a happy Thanksgiving. Same to all of you listening to our little show here. But for George Vogel, I'm Aaron Smith. That was another episode of George in the Jungle. Thank you, as always, to Remington Tavern. They can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can find them on Instagram at RemyTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. But we will see you back here next Tuesday, 9 o'clock p.m., where we will discuss all of your Cincinnati sports.
Thank you, Aaron.